Impairment of Assets, Philippine Accounting Standard Number 36. This is in page 391 of book by Valix, chapter 19.
Ang isang company or an entity, it applies the IAS 36 Impairment of Asset upang malaman kung ang isang item of property, plant, and equipment ay impaired. So, ang impairment is a fall in the market value of an asset so that the recoverable amount is now less than the carrying amount in the statement of financial position, na kung saan yung isang company asset, mapatangible or intangible, ay nagkaroon na ng pagbabago dun sa value nito. Mayroong established principle na kung saan yung asset shall not be carried at above the recoverable amount. Kaya ang isang entity, kailangang i-write down yung carrying amount to the recoverable amount kung hindi mare-recover in full yung carrying amount noong item na yon. Ang carrying amount, ito yung amount at which an asset is recognized dun sa ating statement of financial position matapos madeduct yung accumulated depreciation at accumulated impairment loss. Samantalang yung recoverable amount naman, yun yung present value of the expected cash flows that arise from the sale or use of the asset and is calculated as greater of the two amounts, namely the fair value of the asset as reduced by related selling costs and value in use of such assets. O sa madaling sabi ay para ma-measure yung recoverable amount of an asset is the fair value less yung cost of disposal or value in use. At kung ano yung mas mataas dun sa value ng cost of disposal at value in use, ay iyon yung gagamitin mo para i-less dun sa fair value para makuha yung measurement ng recoverable amount. Sa kabilang banda, para naman makuha or malaman na may impairment loss ba, ay pag yung carrying amount ay higher than the recoverable amount. At yun na nga, magre-result yun dun sa impairment loss. Or pag mas mababa yung recoverable amount dun sa carrying amount ng asset, ibig sabihin nun, meron ngang impairment loss. Yung property, plant, and equipment that were impaired, lost, or given up ay kailangan ma-recognize agad doon sa ating profit and loss. Pag ito naman ay impairment loss, ay ma-recognize ito as expense. Pero kung magkakaroon naman ng reversal of the impairment loss, ito dapat ay ma-recognize din agad doon sa ating income statement as gain on reversal of impairment loss. The recognition. Ibig sabihin nito yung cost of property, plant, and equipment together with the related accumulated depreciation shall be removed dun sa statement of financial position or dapat nang alisin completely lahat ng traces ng asset dun sa ating statement of financial position. Masasabi natin na dapat na itong i-recognize yung carrying amount ng property, plant, and equipment pag ito ay on disposal, when no future economic benefits are expected from its use or disposal. Pagpasok dun sa dalawang criteria na yun o sa dalawang yun, magkakaroon na ng gain or loss from the recognition ng item. Kasi pagbibili na siya, na kung saan dapat ma-recognize ito o ma-include dun sa profit and loss or income statement. Pero yung gain, hindi siya dapat ma-recognize as revenue. At dapat, it should be treated as other income kasi hindi naman siya arise or kinita from the course of the ordinary regular activities ng business.
So now we would look at the presentation and disclosure of the financial statements in terms of property, plants, and equipment. This enables users of the financial statements about entities' investment in its property, plant, and equipment and the changes in such investment. So these are very essential. So what is essential to them? It is actually not just the financial statement itself, but pati na rin yung footnotes or your notes to the financial statements essential. Okay, so remember footnotes. It is the notes to the financial statements essential. So how do we disclose this? First, we would acknowledge that the notes or the financial statements shall disclose for each class property each class of property, plant, and equipment is circled up there, yung mga columns. Those are the class of property, plant, and equipment. And then we have the next circled account, which is the historical costs or the beginning costs. Okay, the reconciliation of the carrying amount at the beginning and of course at the end. Okay, showing of course we have the additions, disposals of subsidiaries. We also have a lot more things, so it'll be comprehensively discussed or explained in intermediate accounting soon. This is just some of the components to fully disclose further information that is for the investors to see. Okay, and then next we do have the revaluation surplus, as mentioned, how we treat the government grants, and we also have transfer to or from property development costs. These are another set of examples. So the financial statements shall also disclose the existing and amounts of restrictions on titles and property, plant, and equipment pledged as security for liabilities. So this means yung mga restricted na, meaning not available for any sale or not available to be transferred to held for sale. Those are the restricted assets as pledged for security of liabilities. So security now, we can still pay our obligations. The entity to pay their obligation. The next is the amount of expenditures recognized in the carrying amount of an item of property, plant, and equipment in the course of its construction. So like I've mentioned, according to International Accounting Standards number 16, it is crucial that we include or recognize the construction upon the asset itself. So it is very important that we disclose it in the financial statement. Kailangan po yun. Next, the amount of the contractual commitments for the acquisition of property, plant, and equipment. It can be in the form of grant. And then next, if it is not disclosed separately in the statement of comprehensive income, the amount of compensation from third parties for items of property, plant, and equipment that were impaired, lost, given up, that is included in profit or loss. So to help us allocate the compensation received from the loss or impairment or the item being given up, then we should include it in the statement of comprehensive income. Okay. If the items of property, plant, and equipment are stated at revalued amounts, just now previously it was at their costs. What if they're stated at their revalued amounts? What we would do is, first, we would disclose, according to International Financial Reporting Standard number 13, the fair value measurement. We would, the effective date of the revaluation should be considered, whether an independent valuer was involved. For each revalued class of property, plant, and equipment, the carrying amount that would have been recognized had the assets been carried under the cost model. So we would see what's the best amount, cost model or evaluation model, as provided, diba? And then of course, we would have the revaluation surplus indicating the change for the period and any restrictions on the distribution of the balance to shareholders. So users of the financial statements, okay, user of the financial statements can can benefit to the financial statements, to the notes or footnotes, the notes to financial statement essential, the carrying amount of the temporary idle property as well. So hindi lang sa mga fixed property, as well as the temporary idle property that is included, then can help the users to make economic decisions. Next is the gross carrying amount of any fully depreciated property is still being used. So those fully depreciated, they can be derecognized, but they are still being used, will still be disclosed that it's still part of the company, still part of the assets. It should be disclosed in the financial statement as well. And then of course the carrying amount of a property, plant, and equipment retired from the active use and not classified as held for sale. So if they're not classified as held for sale, but it's still retired from the active use, we would still record it because there was no disposal occurred. It is still part of the company. It is crucial that we disclose every part of our assets in the company to ensure objectivity as well as full disclosure, transparency of the company. And lastly, we have when the cost model is used, the fair value of property, plant, and equipment when this is materially different from the carrying amount. So, as mentioned here, the fair value should be used instead of cost value or the historical cost. This is in line with money measurement as well as prudence concept. We have to match what is the best, the best and practical cost that is lower to have more income, to be honest. So that concludes the presentation and disclosure of financial statements in terms of IAS or PAS 16. Let us proceed to the next one.